Jonathan, hurry, there's not much time. Lock the door.
Okay.
Hurry, lock it. Do you know why, Jonathan? Do you know why you had to lock the door?
No.
Because we got a great podcast today about zombies.
All right.
Hey, all right. I'm Brandon Rogers, your host, with Jonathan Hinman.
That's me.
And today we're going to be talking about what would happen if our favorite fictitious group of antagoni were to unleash. Well, let's not focus on my grammar.
Yeah.
But what if this were to take over the world? Zombies. Ooh. Mm-hmm. Now let's begin with what zombies are. Now, for those of you who don't know, they're often referred to as ghouls or the living dead. Now, I think zombie mythology pretty much is universal, generally speaking. There's general rules that every zombie movie tends to follow. Always aim for the head.
Yep.
Always aim for the head. You shoot a zombie in the stomach or the dick or somewhere else that a regular human wouldn't like it. That fucker keeps coming at you. Yeah, you got to kill them in the head, which we've seen depicted in many ways. Snap them in the neck, the temple, eye socket, any soft entry point into the skull.
Great point.
Right up. I've seen a few movies right up the bottom of the jaw through the back of the head with like a fire poker or some shit.
They're not going to expect that.
Not going to expect it. Zombies. I forgot we were doing this topic until about an hour ago. And I have to say, I was telling Jonathan, I feel more than qualified to talk about this because this is something
qualified. I mean, that's great.
Have had. Actually, you could say this is possibly the penultimate topic of this podcast thus far. Of me think when we first initially talked about making a podcast, I thought, a podcast would be great because I can go on and on and on about hypothetical this and that. One of the things that
zombies and poop.
Zombies and poop. Poop more so. Maybe that's the more penultimate. But zombies in high school and college. Mostly in high school though. Like when I was 15 or 16, I really would fantasize with my friends about, realistically, what would happen if zombies were to take over. So
some of my favorite dreams. I may have mentioned that once, but it's like zombie dreams. They're kind of like, it's a mix of fear, but it's also like, I tend to be heroically murdering 1,000 zombies. It's like, you guys are easy to kill.
Zombies are always, there's a sense that there's either one of them alone is terrifying and is scary, but then 1,000 of them, they kind of mow down. It's equally just as terrifying as the one, but you're right. Like, that's how movies depict them anyways.
That's so funny. Yeah, you just get into like a mode where you're just like, time to get a combo
going.
Your brain
can't process each one. Neither can the programmers of the video game, and neither can the people who wrote the movie. It's just like, there's 1,000 of them. We'll start mowing them down. What happened to that one that we spent 5 minutes trying to defeat in the bathroom?
One is scary. Who knows? Where is he? It's coming. But 1,000 is just like, it's go time.
It's go time, and get something that does mass murder material. One of the best zombie movies. One of it was in the 80s, I want to say. And hardcore fans of this movie are going to hate me for butchering any of the type. I just loosely know about this film, but I remember being obsessed with it for like a good year of my life. Dead Alive with Peter Jackson. I'm sorry, Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson,
the guy from Lord of the Rings. One of his very first big movies was a zombie movie, and there was a scene I remember with a lawnmower where he just mowed down a ton of zombies with a lawnmower. Wow. And I don't remember exactly, but it was a wonderful scene. There was all kinds of. There was a scene where a zombie got torn apart, and every time they wouldn't kill the head, but every time they'd severed a part of the body, that separate part of the body was a zombie too. And they like dismembered the entire body and ripped out the intestines, and then the intestines were a zombie, and the butthole was like the mouth of that zombie.
Fucking way.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. You should watch it. Dead Alive.
That's hilarious.
It is all practical effects, no CGI. It's just very messy, and it's like half comedy, but it's done on a scope of, obviously, Peter Jackson. He likes to do things on a huge scope. One of the best zombie movies.
Interesting.
Fucking Dawn of the Dead, I'll remember. Not the original one. I watched the original one. Personally, I didn't care for it. I thought that... but by this time, I had already been introduced to fast zombies. And once you're introduced to fast zombies, you really can't go back and admire the slow ones.
That's a great point. The slow ones, like, you had it easy. Like, it's pretty...
You had it fucking easy. Now... I get the fear of something slowly coming toward you, but I also, and I'm not a very logical person, but even I have enough logic to start constructing a backup plan for that easy shit.
Right.
And I get that maybe if I had a broken leg and there was no cars and I was in the desert and there's a slow zombie coming toward me, then we're talking about something scary. Then there's a threat. Right. But we're talking most of the time in a suburban town or an urban environment. And yeah, there's a lot of fucking things you can use to outrun and or barricade yourself from something that limps toward you.
Yeah. It's like it's easy enough. If they're closing in on you in a perimeter, push the perimeter. Go to one side and then run to the other and just like, you keep making a circle. Like, it's going to be fine. You don't need to know geometry that much.
Jonathan, what was the first time you were ever introduced to zombies?
Well, I think it occurred before this, but my first real exposure was 28 Days Later. Where,
that was a terrifying movie for it to be your first one.
Scared the fuck out of me. I mean, that was intense. I definitely had for real nightmares about it.
Me too.
Not so heroically.
Not so heroically.
Yeah, and just like I did a lot of fantasizing about like really scary shit in the darkness. So like I had trouble going to sleep as a kid, because I'm imagining monsters are in my closet. I had a real problem with that.
Oh, I did too. I think that's something a lot of people don't like to talk about.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's
funny
because
right.
every time I get to know someone on a deeply personal level, I do hear about bedroom fears. I think those come out with your close friends.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, wow, I kind of have that problem too a little bit. And like,
You're like, don't tell anyone because that has no bearing on who I am as an adult.
Well, zombies are a particular type of intruder into one's psyche. And they say don't let kids watch scary movies, and I agree with that. But I also feel like there's a certain age where the age doesn't matter anymore in terms of how scared you're going to get. If it's your first zombie movie and you're seeing 28 Days fucking Later, that's a pretty horrifying film. It's horrifying also because they shot it, I believe, on an 8mm camera or a high 8 or it was shot on some form of digital tape. But I remember watching it with my friends, thinking like, oh, this is going to be a fun zombie. My only other zombie movie that I'd seen before that was Resident Evil. And
I still need to see that. I love the game.
So Resident Evil was my first introduction to zombies. And the game does it's the slow ones. And I believe in the movie, yes, in the first movie they were slow. So my first introduction was to slow zombies. But even then, there was
28 Days Later was a game changer.
28 Days Later was a game changer. Did 28 Days Later come first, or did Dawn of the Dead come first?
I don't know, but I could have sworn, like, regardless of which one actually came first, it felt to me like culturally, 28 Days Later was the breaking point. It was like fast zombies from now on.
I think 28 Days Later seemed to have a more global. I hear more people talk about that movie than Dawn of the Dead. I think 28 Days Later is scarier. I think that Dawn of the Dead overall is a better movie. Probably, I think just because it was, I think Zack Snyder directed that one, and the scope of it is the whole movie takes place in a shopping mall, and again, primarily practical effects. Same with 28 Days Later, they use practical effects. I think 28 Days Later sparked that zombie revolution because then we had all the Resident Evils, we had Quarantine, we had George A. Romero started making stuff, albeit not that great, but they there was a lot of stuff that came out zombie wise during that time, and then I think the zombie sort of generation or the zombie period era kind of started to taper off with Walking Dead. Nothing against Walking Dead, but they really did kind of end that. Everyone's like, okay, we're done with it. Let's move on.
I felt like Walking Dead, it's the job of that show to be like, we're going to cover it all.
We're going to cover
all zombie things are in here.
And it's like, well, there's not much film left to explore, or at least that audiences are hungry for. Cause
so it's designed to be all other films are subsets of an episode.
Right. Kind of, yeah. And so
I haven't seen The Walking Dead, actually. Yes. But I gathered that it's just like, well, it's a massive show. It's got to include everything zombie.
Yeah, exactly. When I was in high school, I think after I saw 28, which by the way, I saw 28 Days Later at a sleepover before I knew I was queer. I was at a girls' sleepover, and it was this, what's funny is that there were all these other guys there, and they all have since come out. It's like, wow. Yeah, isn't that funny? But I remember we were at this sleepover, and all these girls were watching... we wanted to watch something scary, and I had just seen Resident Evil, and so we were like, oh, I was like, let's see a zombie movie. I want to see something with, and they were like, yeah,
that's a great one to see with fellow friends, and just like people that you're like, it's okay, we're all going to be scared.
Something about that room full of fellow 14-year-olds, primarily girls. Hearing them all scream at the top of their lungs every time a scary part happened kind of amplified that scary moment because I'm getting the whole room's reaction, and it almost like the room's reaction scared me more than the movie because it would make me jump when people would shriek. And I remember there's a scene in the movie toward the very beginning where he walks into everything is empty. The town, he's in London and there's nothing in sight. Hello. Yeah, he's shouting, got his clothes on. We also have his wee-wee and all the girls went crazy. And then he's in the church and he walks up into the balcony and he looks down. There's all these bodies in the pews, just dead bodies. And he looks down on the bodies and he says hello. And one of the bodies sits up and they look at him. And the room freaked out. I watched that movie again later, and I watched that part, and it wasn't nearly as scary as when the room freaked out. Because when the room freaked out, I didn't know that body was going to sit up, and I certainly didn't know the room was going to light up in sound.
Yeah,
and like that was probably single-handed.
That's amazing.
It's probably
it's like the movie reached out and created the atmosphere right around you in your friends.
Exactly, and we're in. I remember the living room. The TV we watched it on was this massive. Her parents had money, and it was just this big TV, and all the lights were dim. And as soon as that body set up, it could be one of the most terrifying moments I've ever had watching a movie. And then there's the scene with, what was his name? Mailer. That was the zombie's name, who was outside the window. The black guy with his eyes were red, and they're inside. It's storming in the rain. They're like, oh, he breaks out of the chain, and then the guy is standing next to the window, and he moves out of the way, and you see the zombie just outside looking in through the glass, and that shot. Just something about that freaked me out, and the room lit up again.
That's so funny. That's exactly the shot that, like, I would imagine when I'd be like, "Well, you should check your window, Jonathan, right now to make sure there's no zombie there." Oh, and I'd be imagining that.
I saw that so many because I lived on the first story of a 2-story house, and every time I would have to, if I was home alone, I'd have to, go to bed. I'd lock all the doors, and I would, make sure. And I remember I would close the drapes to all the windows.
Fuck yeah!
And I remember as I walked up to each window to close the drapes, I imagined Mailer's fucking face with those red eyes, just like because his eyes are big and he's staring in, looking hungry and pissed off at the same time.
Yeah.
And I just remember I would see that face every window I walked. If it was nighttime, if it was daytime, no. But if it was nighttime, I would just imagine his face there, and it got into my dreams. It got into like you said, and I remember thinking like if there was a zombie in the house, what it would sound like hearing someone sprinting down the hallway toward my bedroom. And
you're like, I need to make sure that I'm ready for this.
Let's talk about sprinting zombies for a second. 28 Days Later was. I want to say it came out before Dawn of the Dead. And if for any fans that I'm butchering this, I profusely apologize. But they were released very similar times. But I want to say 28 Days Later was my first introduction to running zombies. And
definitely was mine.
I just remember the element, because you think of zombies as a child, you think, ugh, brains, or at least when I was a kid. Probably now kids have a modernized, more terrifying version of it. But to see that, it took away the fantasy element of the ghoul, because up until that point, zombies were no different than Dracula and mummies and, zombies, Halloween. But then I saw these. It seems
like these are people.
These are real people that can run and they will tear you apart and with their teeth. And 28 Days Later, their thing wasn't about eating the victims. It was about just ripping their bodies up, or like it was the rage virus. That's what it's called. They just got angry, and
that's an interesting evolution of zombies too. It's just like they don't want your brains.
Brains have been thrown out. They're not trying to eat brains. They just want to kill you. They just want to kill you. I think some movies lean more into the guttural hunger of like when you come back to like only your primary instincts come back, and one of those primary things are hunger. And then other movies lean more toward they're rabid, they're angry. To Quarantine, another which was a shot-for-shot remake of REC, the Spanish film. They are more about just being insane or angry. I think
they all have some slightly different take on what the zombie monster wants.
I think REC just straight drew the line to it being human rabies, because essentially that's what it is. It's just you're infected, you're crazy, you turn on everyone, you bite them, they're infected. It's rabies, which is one of my biggest fears. I was just on this wildlife farm, or not wildlife. What is the animal? They take wild animals that are exotic, and I remember just walking around thinking some of these must have rabies. I know it's probably like, but I just remember I'm always terrified of it because it truly is one of the most terrifying things to contract. The only way to know if you have rabies is by taking a brain sample. And even if you don't know if you have it, if you want to be sure, you have to take stomach shots.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's...
Yeah. Rachel, like, pet a dog on the street that looked like it needed help once, and it, like... bit her a little bit.
Oh my
God.
God.
Like, oh my gosh. It was just a tiny, tiny dog and just like a teeny nip, but a little scratch. And we were freaking out like, oh my gosh, do we need to get rabies? And called and they're just like, okay. Like, like, you probably don't have rabies, but like it's a shot in the stomach. You'll be sick for like 2 weeks. And we're just like, what? Oh, what? And it's like learning like,
I'd rather die of rabies.
Exactly.
It's scary. I watched YouTube videos of people who have rabies, and it's terrifying. And it's an image I can't get out of my head.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and you know, it is a silly thing to be afraid of, and I think we fear it because it's so. It's such a swollen topic in Hollywood. We see it in movies a lot. We see it. Rabies is something that goes with comedies, with horrors, with just talked about a lot.
It's almost a relic of like early 1900s.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we just I think the sheer horror of what rabies is mixed with the fact that it is quite a real thing in other countries. It just makes for a very real fear, but we do forget it's virtually non-existent in the U.S.
Right.
And and I always forget that it's so easy to be afraid of it. I think just because the idea of it's horrifying. Like zombies, for instance. I feel like zombies is just a sped up version of that among humans. You just go crazy and you start. Now, some movies kind of lean back and forth between how much memory the zombie retains. Yeah. And I think the more memories the zombies have, it makes me hate the writers more. Like, I don't like it when zombies start to show familiar elements. I don't like when I kind of like, no, once they're evil, they're a zombie. Like, they're an evil thing to be afraid of.
Right.
The only other zombie movies,
all we really need to do is talk to these zombies.
Right. Oh my God.
I just don't think that's zombies.
Oh my God. It makes me want to be one. Like, I think the movie that did zombies the best, let me think. I go in terms of terror, like how scary were they? I think, the 28 Days Later and the 28 Weeks Later zombies, they were the same things, but I think that I liked both movies. I thought 28 Days Later scared me more because I think it was more disturbing. But now that I'm thinking about it, 28 Weeks Later was quite disturbing as well. There's a scene where the wife is in the hospital. She's chained she can't move, and the husband gets infected and eats his own wife, like as she's like screaming and can't move, get out of her bed. I thought that was terrible. No, he doesn't eat her. He gouges her fucking eyes out with his thumbs. That's what he does. Oh my God. Yeah, that movie, I think both of those are, I thought it was a great sequel. Very rarely in horror do you get a great follow-up sequel besides The Conjuring and the Weeks and Days, the 28 series. Oh my gosh, we're just waiting for 28 years later when we're old and give us heart attacks. The zombies are still the same.
Yeah, and the zombies are old, the humans are old.
Oh no, old everything's old and I really wanted a second Dawn of the Dead, but obviously they ended that movie in a way that couldn't be carried over.
Which one is that?
That's the one they're in the shopping mall. It starts off. It has the really iconic first 10 minutes where the nurse comes home to her husband and they go to bed together. And the next morning they wake up and there's a little girl in her house and the little girl eats the husband. In the bedroom, and then the wife jumps into the bathroom and locks the door, and she tries climbing out of the shower window, and the little girl, the husband's trying to break into the bathroom, and you haven't seen this?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, watch just that. I'm sure it's on YouTube, that sequence. Wow. But it's just the foreshadowing when she's coming home from work, because that sequence was in all the trailers, so everyone knew what was going to happen. And I remember going to the movies, and you're watching this nurse get off work, and she's coming home, and everything you think is a potential is going to jump out, but it doesn't. And you're seeing from these aerial shots that just get closer and closer on her house as her car pulls into the driveway, or comes down the street, pulls in the driveway. You see the little girl that you've seen in the trailers on the roller skates. Hi, hey, oh look, I can go backwards now, and you're like, oh, she's going to die at some point. It's coming. And then the next morning comes and the girl's already in the house, and it's just like, it was just such a great.
That sounds scary.
It was a great moment to be a fan or to be like a moviegoer. You know what I mean? Because everyone in the audience knows what's coming, and you feel that fear. I'm telling you guys, horror movies are the best thing to watch when you're with a big audience who are also really into it, because every horror movie I've seen with an audience and then alone, it's almost like half the experience. It's half the and you can watch it with an audience at home. It doesn't have to be at the movies, but still, like, if there's a scary movie, see that shit opening night, because you know that anyone who goes to a midnight screening of a horror film that just came out, no one's there to be a heckler. No one's there to talk over the film. Everyone's there because we want to see this movie most of the time. I've seen some horrible midnight screenings.
That's very true.
But that's like the best crowd to go with, because everyone's going to react to it the way that amplifies those moments.
People are usually there for good reasons, for film-loving reasons.
And I'm sad, in a way, that zombies have kind of aged out into The Walking Dead a la television, where you aren't with necessarily a big crowd of people. I miss going to the movies and being scared of zombies with lots of people. I miss that. And I can't think of the last zombie movie to come out. What, like World War Z? Mm-hmm. And that even sounds old. Like
and not scary.
And actually I did. I watched it recently for the first time. Like a couple months ago. And I was actually really, I had a good time watching it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I've heard so many bad things about it. That's why I never went and saw it. I watched it. It's a good movie. These zombies pile on top of each other to climb over walls and shit.
Yeah.
But they still have that same, When zombies start becoming CGI, I start to become a little less afraid of them.
100%. They looked pretty like Mummy circa 2006.
I think
it's all piled on.
I think zombies are a... the zombie movies really should be done practically. I think Now, if this were to happen realistically, like let's say
let's talk logistics. Let's talk strategy. Let's just be prepared.
Okay. Well, what setting are we here? We might as well just make it here, Los Angeles.
We're here in LA,
2019.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mm-hmm. LA already is a place that feels every day like an evacuation. Anywhere you go, it's like you're in an evacuation. Like that's what it just feels like. The LA traffic thing.
It's like, oh no, everyone in the city is trying to go to that place.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. And when you have congestion, like you all hear about in the movies, and you all see LA, it lives up to that stereotype. The traffic here is doo-doo. But when you
if zombies attack during rush hour, it's over.
Just me getting to this podcast today, I'm calling Jonathan like I'm fucking late because I'm missed this exit was blocked, and now this block it's
backed up the 10 to the 405 to the 101. That's all I
want and the 110. No, it's like I don't know how. I mean, obviously the city would evacuate, but where would it start though? Like, how would you think? I feel like we would first hear about it through the emergency notification, like the Amber Alert sound, right? And that's like like, and I don't think they would say evacuate. I don't think evacuation would be what would be happening. I feel like it would be barricade, like lock your doors kind of a situation.
Yeah.
So I feel like evacuation, you're just getting people panicked in the street and all the roads are blocked. Therefore, you're blocking emergency vehicles. You're blocking everything.
I guess it would be like, how far away is it?
Where is it starting from?
Is it in LA right now?
Because I feel like it would start in a place that has a lot of people. I feel like it would start in at a hospital in downtown or somewhere
probably.
I feel like a hospital would be, or at least near a hospital, because the first case of it, let's say no matter where you are, the first person who starts to turn, I mean, we can chicken or the egg this, but they're going to go to a hospital or be en route to one, right? And so their situation's probably, assuming, going to be at or near the vicinity of some hospital. And so let's say that happens. Okay, what's the hospital? Hospital have zero security. So no one's
coming out. It's coming out.
There's no tranquilizer. There's no there's nothing that's gonna. Nothing there to apprehend. The hospital is essentially like filling a box full of matches and then lighting it. It's like it's just a tinder box. It's a room. It's a building full of people that will all infect each other with no known cure within the building. And then it's just a matter of, then what? You know, because what's this hospital located near? Let's say Cedars-Sinai. That's the thing is in the middle of so many.
I think all hospitals need like a fire moat surrounding it so that we can be prepared for this.
God. Yeah, you're right. You're probably onto something.
So zombies they're starting here at this hospital. Mm-hmm. And they're coming out everywhere in all directions.
Everywhere, yeah. And
you're hearing about it on the news. You're getting the Amber Alerts.
Or would it be an airport? Would it be the airport?
It's possible.
Someone landed there. Maybe a hospital near the airport. I think it's safe to say that
I mean,
LAX is a place you want to avoid during the zombie apocalypse. People are going to be flocking to it.
True.
People are going to be flocking to the airport, or
zombies are going to be flying in.
Oh my god, an airplane full of zombies! Can you imagine that? The pilot has to lock the cockpit.
Like the pilot, like if you think, I mean, yeah, I guess the assumption is that the pilot thinks that these people just need to go to the hospital.
Well, here's the thing.
But if it's zombies, like, you got to crash this plane.
In this day and age, we'll know a zombie apocalypse when we see it. In all the movies, they go, "What's happening? No, that couldn't have happened. She's my mom. I can't kill her." It's like,
everyone's like, "Did you see this movie?
Yeah, it's like, no. Why is it in every zombie movie people have such a hard time killing their own? They have such a hard time killing their own family. Now, I understand if there's potentially still a cure. I wouldn't want to kill my family.
Right.
But then again, I wouldn't want anyone else to kill them either. But that's never the principle of the matter in the zombie apocalypse movies. Right. It's always, I can't kill my own mom. Well, she's not your mom anymore. He's not your dad. He's not your baby mama. Whatever the fuck. It's just fucking kill it. And I feel like in today's generation would do that. I feel like we see those zombie movies. It's like, I understand that you are no longer Jonathan Hinman. I understand that your body has a mind of its own or lack thereof and is trying to kill me.
Well, I'm different, but yeah, everyone else. Go ahead.
Well, I fantasize about this enough, so I know what I'm talking about. But seriously,
you're the first to go, zombie or no.
That being said, I think that these dumbass pilots, or actually, we'll call them heroes, because in my story, they're going to do the right thing. They land the plane, and I would imagine that they know what's going on. You hear that shit, and you're hearing munching, crunching. You know what's going on back there. You know these people don't need a doctor. They either need a priest or they need a military troop. But
you're like, I'm about to land, and I'm going to need 10 Humvees, and y'all are going to be ready to blow these zombies.
I'm going to need a few priests and a few just monks from various religions. just get them all here. Get all the religions here.
Let's see what works. Let's figure it out.
But the thing is, the cockpit doesn't open from the outside. You've got to go through the cabin. So they need to find a way to destroy this pill of poison, essentially, that's sitting on the tarmac. They need to destroy this capsule of zombies while still retaining the pilot's lives. Do they destroy the whole thing and commend them as heroes?
Let's be honest, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was kind of getting toward. I mean, the airplane stores its jet fuel, or the fuel in the wings, I believe. They just got to shoot the wings, poof, and then blow up the whole airplane. They go down as heroes. And then just give him a plaque somewhere on Wilshire. Yeah. But I think that I think that if it were to happen, going back to the hospital situation, And
what are you going to do?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Let's not worry about where it's starting from. Let's talk about it from our perspective. Okay. Let's just say it happened this morning. You and I are both at our respective homes, right? Mm-hmm. I imagine an Amber Alert sound. What is that? The emergency notification, right? With whatever that thing is. It's like today. I just thought about the other day. We don't have the emergency broadcast system anymore. Or I mean, I'm sure we do, but no one knows about that really.
That's funny.
It's like about it's.
If
all
you listen
about,
to NPR, it's on there sometimes.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I was just saying. I was like,
but I've never heard it anywhere else actually.
Right. I was going to say, what's the equivalent of an emergency broadcast system since no one's watching cable or television? Oh, probably our phones. So I imagine that would go off, and then. I don't think... Okay, so this is something I've noticed. In every movie, whenever there's some form of apocalypse, there's this kind of air raid siren in the distance. That...
Right.
That kind of cranking sound. And then I thought to myself... Where is that coming from? Where are those? Why are we in movies? We never question it when we hear it. But then I'm like, have you ever seen just sirens just pointing into the air? Yeah. I've never seen.
Haven't used these in a century.
Right. There's a few months ago, I remember driving around LA. It was a good week where every time I was in my car, I would just kind of look around and be like, I see zero sirens. So I don't think we would have the cliche siren going off that everyone can hear. I think that there would be... just our phones would alert us, and then it would say barricade yourselves, and I would do exactly that. I happen to live in a very fortified building, and it's made entirely of concrete, and I'm high off the ground.
That's true.
There's only, I live in an apartment, and there's only one door to my apartment, so it's like
you live in a good place to fortify.
It's right. I've thought about it many times, and I recently discovered, 3 years ago, I discovered that my shower the space above my shower lifts up into a crawl space that technically can drop down into other people's apartments. But it's there's like spider webs, and no one would ever do it. But it's like it's just like a crawl space for the guys to work on the plumbing. And I don't think it goes into other. It's me and the apartment next to me, and I know the guy. Otherwise, I'd be much more creeped out.
That's hilarious.
But it is good to know that in my apartment, if anything. Let's say I get this thing.
I'm comforted knowing that I could hide in the plumbing crawl space.
Kind of. I know, knowing that there is technically an escape to my apartment that is many stories off the ground. There's still a place that I could retreat to if someone was trying to break in.
Right.
And that's kind of my plan. And
that is nice about an apartment. Is like here in a house, I can be assaulted on all these walls.
Yeah.
But your place is. That you just can't.
Right. In a house, you're kind of anyone can come at you from any direction. Because I've lived in a house my whole life up until this apartment, and I remember the paranoia level was so much higher. I was much younger, and I didn't understand the world, and so you kind of get more paranoid when you don't. But B, I think I lived in a very safe town, but it was also a quiet town. And for some reason, a quiet town invokes a loud imagination. I feel like something about living in a quiet town, you start to imagine ways that intruders get into your house, ways that you get people can come after you. And here I am in the city. Technically, I should be way more scared of it here because there's so many more people and so many more bad people that live so much closer to me here than back home.
Right.
But something about being alone at that house at night. In the middle of nowhere, you walk outside. You could probably scream in that house and no one could hear you. And something about that was so much more scary to me. And I figured if zombies were to attack, that's the place that they would go. And that's where I always thought about it. I never think about zombie attacks here in my LA apartment because I don't know. But I guess if it did happen. I feel safe in my apartment. Now, that's if I'm home. If I was somewhere else,
and that's kind of because the most frightening thing about a zombie attack is really being alone and open and so you just don't feel that in an apartment.
The great thing about a zombie apocalypse as opposed to other form of apocalypse is that the zombie apocalypse doesn't seem to pose much of a threat to our network. In terms of I don't see cell phones necessarily going down. I don't see, I feel like communication would still be around. That's maybe what we should prioritize. Keep the towers, the towers would be safe, but keep the facilities operating the towers safe.
I think that would be a military priority.
They would keep I think we would be fine there. I think
forget the city, save the cell towers.
Right, this is no EMP bomb. EMP or EMT? EMP bomb. Yeah, this is no earthquake or something natural that could cause, system failure to our network grid. I feel like this is more of a moral, emotional thing because we're dealing with ourselves we are becoming literally our own worst enemies. Now, I thought about this. Now, that's my plan living in the city. Oh, and also I would start filling up as many containers as I can with water. I'd start filling up with water.
Smart move.
And then I would boil it.
Game plan.
I would boil the water.
You get water.
And I have a ton of matches, tons of lighters, so I can theoretically create a fire. Boil water. I have pots that I could boil water. I could live in my apartment for a while without
camping in a concrete building.
Piss out the window. It's a straight drop.
Nice. Onto zombies' heads. Piss them off.
I don't think zombies would put the logic together to know that there's a human up there that I can have to go into that building and go up and get to that.
It's mostly just a funny thing to do.
It's just a funny thing to do, just to piss them off. Yeah. But now that's my plan here in Los Angeles. Jonathan, here in LA, what would you do? Let's say you're home.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. I'm definitely scooping up Rachel and my sister Dominique, who lives here.
How far is Dominique, though?
Really far. That would be a big problem.
Oh,
but that would be a priority of how, quickly coordinate. How can we both get somewhere safe? And I would either be going to, it's like a tall building to fortify, but I'd try to go less dense. I mean, honestly, we're kind of fucked. And I maybe would go west and try to
to the beach toward Santa Monica.
Yeah, and try to get on an island would try to, just get.
Are there islands here to get on?
I mean, yeah, small islands, but just somewhere where it's like the ocean is there. The ocean is there just to carry that zombie away.
Yeah,
I would be going for
water.
that.
Water is a smart one.
Yeah.
Now, here's
but most of all, I would immediately be arming myself.
Mm-hmm. Go to Paulette's.
Go to Paulette's. But okay, so this brings me to the question: What is your go-to weapon / like maybe favorite weapon? Like, what are you thinking when? And I think there's like, what would you grab initially first, and that's like whatever you have here. But then what would you seek to get next, and then as the weeks progress, what's your like? I've got my setup pretty dialed in.
I know.
What does that look like?
I know. I already know what my weapon is. I've always known what it is. It's a fucking baseball bat or crowbar. It's something that I don't want to feel. I couldn't stab a rabid animal trying to kill me. Like, I can't. I don't want to know. Like, I have a hard time. When I was a kid, I remember I had a hard time. My dad had me skin a fish or scale a fish or something, whatever, cut it up. He had me prepare the whole fish from catching. I had to catch the fish, and then he taught me how to like cut it up and just the blood and all that. I just hated it. I could still feel what it felt like to stick a knife in its body, and like I never want to feel what that feels like for a human. And knowing that I don't know something, but I could hit a zombie in the head with a fucking metal bat. Like, that seems like a less psychologically scarring way to kill something, and I feel like it would do the job. I feel like stabbing is great to ward off someone who who could feel pain, but zombies can't feel pain. I mean, that's kind of a general, universally agreed upon bit of mythology over all the zombie lore, is that they
right. And I mean, it's trying to kill you. Like, you can't be like,
obviously there's some sort of trauma that you got to cause to the spine or nervous system or brain, right? Yeah. And so I feel like a bat will do that most efficiently. Just to rupture it enough to like
you're totally
disorient
right.
it or something.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to point out, once you're a zombie, you lose all gender. That's why we say it. You're no longer worth a fucking gender. But
I think a bat with like some nails in it, just like something to puncture, not something that would get caught in their head or body, but something that would like ensure that you actually like crush the brain. Just like a little bit of an edge that that the skull crumbles and you get that brain. Yeah, probably
the nails would help. Jesus. Just to like crack the skull open.
Yeah. It's like a bit of nail, not like a long nail. Like then you're gonna get it stuck in there, and the zombie's gonna get you from behind. You need to be able to like whack all around you.
I think I do have a metal bat in my apartment. Most of the weapons I have are fake. I almost said, like, I have a wrench. Oh, but that's a rubber. That's a rubber one. I have a hammer. That's a rubber hammer.
That's a comedy moment waiting to happen right before your death.
Right before my death. Yeah, I mean, I have my Cutco knives. Those are fucking weapons in themselves.
That's how Vector should advertise.
That's how Vector.
Preparing for the zombie apocalypse?
Yeah, exactly. You'll be fucked if you don't have our knives. Yeah, I think when I lived in Livermore, which is a very small town, even smaller when I lived there, it had a sense of just sort of, neighborhood, community, just, with nothing, crime, very simple.
Zombie.
So it was a different hypothetical solution then.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because if you're in a suburban area, like that you can, it's trickle in zombies. Like you can handle a house at a time, a house worth of zombies at a time. But in LA, it's like, oh, man, that's 1,000. Like if you're in the middle of LA, you're pretty fucked. But if you're
really fucked, yeah. And I just want to point out really quick, no matter where you are,
you're fucked.
If you're you're pretty much. But I think that the people you run into are going to be quite possibly more terrifying than the zombies, because the zombies, at least you already know their motive. The people you run into, that's scary, because people come with the ability to manipulate, and people come with the ability for with the instinct of self-preservation. That's just any living, normal thing.
That's very true.
And so when you run into other people, human niceties and decencies are out the window. Now you're talking about survival.
Even people with kids.
Even people
they're like, no, I have to like kill you for your supplies for my kid.
Did you watch Chris Rock's latest special on Netflix? There's a bit where he says, I told my son, when you walk out that door, no one gives a fuck about you. Like, no one on this planet gives a fuck about you. And it's so true. It's like, it's. I think I think we give a fuck about other people when we can, when our own lives are comfortable enough to. We care about strangers. We care about when it's like when we're not suffering, when our survival isn't. But when our survival is at stake, we don't
self-preservation is the basis of all other cares, and if that one's threatened, that's the one you cater to.
If someone with no car sees you with a car, and the world is ending, why should that person be nice to you, let alone spare your fucking life? You know, it's
crazy, but there are people that you love enough where you're like, no, we are together. Like, we are the one, even in those moments.
The pack mentality.
Yeah. But, like, it's not...
among people in general.
Yeah. It's like people in my friend group. Like, Brandon... Like I would risk my life to go save you if you were over there. I would run over. I would do everything I could. But you know, I know some people who are like my friends. So maybe I wouldn't necessarily. Like, it drops off where it's like, fuck, I'm sorry, you're a cool dude. Like, but I gotta go.
there are certain people that
You know, like not all 2,000 of the people that I technically know. Yeah, do that. You know, so there's a level.
Where is the cutoff exactly?
Right.
You know,
I
have a pretty tight circle.
Has the zombie already bitten you? Like, and it's all over. Like, okay, is the zombie about? Okay.
How do you know? And it all, and that's where the movies and mythologies and lore starts to differ, because in some movies, the progression of turning is different than other. It's faster, slower. Mm-hmm. There's different symptoms. I think that overall, I think we can agree that before you turn into one, you're starting to show feverish signs of sickness and dark around the eyes. It's all pretty, you know, sometimes it comes with foam in the mouth, sometimes not. I think that if that starts happening, then what do you do? What do you do? What do you do with a friend? Let's say that, like, you have a friend next to you. You're I don't know where you guys are. You're barricaded somewhere private. Mm-hmm. Like you guys are, and it's just two of you. And he is showing signs, and he says, "I don't feel so good." He even admits, "I've been bitten. I've been bitten." What do the two of you now do?
Decide how that person wants to die.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I can see you handling this. I don't see how I would handle this.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just, how do you want to die? How... Oh my God! Yeah, I'm picturing.
This is a dark thing to think.
Yeah, I'm like, my mind is going, but we got to go here. We got to go here.
Yeah, you got to give them the choice, and and I do think that, like, I don't think that. I think everyone I know and imagine in this situation are people who would accept that as truth. They wouldn't be like, well, now, wait a minute. No.
Yeah, in the movies,
I'm going to be the one exception. It's like, no one in my circle would think that.
I think what would happen, I'm thinking if this happened to me, like if literally we're trapped in this room and I'm bitten, and I know I'm bitten, and it comes, I think
it's time to go. Like, okay, sorry, you go ahead. Go.
No, go for it.
I'm thinking if it's me, if I've been bitten, I'm running outside to take out as many as I can in the last ditch, and I get torn up. But like, I'm definitely going to go kill at least one more and reduce the total amount. That's my goal. Is I'm totally risking myself and taking a bunch out.
Now, that comes with a risk, though, because now you're risking being eaten. And is that how you want to go?
It doesn't matter, because what's more important is removing threats to the people who are still alive.
That's true. And I wish I was that selfless. I have such a low tolerance for pain. And I don't know if I want to risk being eaten. You know what? I would go out and try to kill them.
Let me get two, and then let me have some of that heroin, and I'll go get as many more as I can.
I think I would. This is what I would do. Here it is. Here we go. I would wait until I would say, don't kill me. I don't want to die. I don't want my gravestone to say, and he was murdered. I want to go out on my own terms. So I would leave the room, and I would go up to the top of a building, and I would sit on a ledge and wait for myself to get so sick. Actually, I would just let myself die and then let my body fall once I'm unconscious and destroy my body and brain from becoming a zombie. I don't know if I could kill myself, let someone kill me, and I don't know if I would want to go so slow. Maybe I'll do this. Here's where we go. Let me, this is the final plan. I will wait until I become so sick I can't bear it anymore. Like, I'm about to die. And either I keel over and fall off that building, or I just jump. And then I know that there's absolutely no way I'll survive that fall. I will just die, and I will try and go head first.
Right.
And to just... But what oh gosh, I love my mind, and what a beautiful mind I'd be losing. But but that's what happens. That's the way it goes.
Yeah,
now,
you get bitten. You gotta handle that. Like you gotta understand.
I think we gotta wait until. Well, see, there's so many things that we don't know about. Is this airborne?
Also, yeah, and like you're kind of like do you want to experience it? You're like, you know what? I just want to like. It's probably nothing, but let me just experience being a zombie before I go out. Just so that I know.
Oh,
let me
interesting.
Let me put myself in a position where you can definitely handle me. I'm not going to then cause a threat. You know, you can just finish pushing me. I'm already tied up, and you can finish pushing me off or whatever. But
right.
But I want to feel what it's like to be a zombie.
I think that I've thought about this. I'm a little scared of. I always get afraid of I think it's a terrifying concept to be overcome by something that changes your motive and your behavior.
Yeah.
But then I think to myself, isn't that all that life is? Marijuana, alcohol, sex, everything we do, heartbreak, and everything we experience changes our behavior, changes our motives, changes our intent. So maybe this is just a different version of that. But
And what's the harm in knowing?
What's the harm?
Just what's the harm in knowing?
Oh my gosh, I wonder.
I mean, I guess potentially killing your friends and family, but can you?
Now
is there a way around that part?
That's assuming that there's any part of them still in there, and that the primal mind hasn't embodied its own personification. Right. You know.
Yeah, you're like, actually, maybe my friends and family should die to me as a zombie. Let me go.
Right, and then just change. I don't know. All I know is that if it were to happen, I don't think it would. Honestly, I don't think it would break out as far as people think it might. I think that like I said, we've seen the movies, we've watched the shows, we've read the books and the mangas, and we know what a zombie apocalypse looks like from a fucking mile away. Right?
Yeah, it's like people are taking out zombies at a 3-to-1 ratio. Essentially, the disease is contained. Exactly.
Like, I think that shit would be contained before it ever left the hospital, to be honest. I think we would know what that is. You grab something. Hell, this fucking microphone could be a weapon. It weighs 1,000 pounds. Like, I think that it wouldn't get that far. I think we should. But you know what? It does take the fun out of it. I wish we can go back in time to the 80s when no one really fantasized about zombies and let these runners loose there, and then we see how they take it. Ooh, that would be a good movie. 80s are really popular right now. It's a hot time period for movies. Mix that with zombies, we could bring the zombies back, and the movie should be called Don't Think About Walking Dead. Anyways.
Before anyone saw any zombie movies.
Well, Jonathan, what do you think? I mean, do you think that this is something that you would get very far out, or do you think that we would contain this?
I think that we would. I actually do think we'd contain this. I think that most of the perils that occur in a zombie movie, most of the perils are real. The threat of people are real. The threat of people seizing power is very real, and all the interpersonal things are very real. But everyone's lack of solution to kind of some basic strategies is that for a dramatic effect. I think a lot of people like I remember in Zombieland, it's like you just run in a circle like this and you trail them around, and it's like exactly
right.
God, I loved that so much.
That movie was kind of at that point where we were in that zombie era.
It's like, wait a minute, I think there are some common sense solutions to some of the biggest threats of these. It's like don't let yourself get surrounded. Ever. You have to just keep moving, and then you can pick them off in a line. Right. There are easy ways to pick them off.
There are.
And so I do think that people would overall have a lot of those solutions in place.
I think oh God, how long do you think until memes started to surface about just there'd be zombie memes probably the day of.
That's true.
Because Shaun. True. Well, I mean, I think Shaun of the Dead was the first time we've laughed at zombies. Shaun of the Dead. That was the first time I laughed at zombies, at least. Yeah. Did you see that movie? Oh, it's such a good film. But yeah, I don't think it would get that far. I
think we'd basically be okay.
Yeah. But Jesus Christ, how scary of a situation.
It would definitely be scary. It would definitely be worrisome. Be very worried.
Yeah.
No, and I wanted to say that I would do like a broadsword, like just keep it going. No need for ammo,
Oh yeah, nothing with ammo. Nothing that we need ammo for. And
but I think actually like a dual wield bat is probably better. Like basically 2 maces.
2 maces. Yeah. I agree. I think that going now in terms of the best place to go if you're not home. When I lived in Livermore, I came to the conclusion that Costco is the ultimate best place to be during a zombie apocalypse, but a closed Costco.
Right.
If you think about it,
just climb up there to shelf number 25.
Well, no, you can construct the aisles. You can You have a literally a lifetime supply of food. Mm-hmm. You and even more so the longer the generators or power stays on. You also have aisles that can be constructed into virtual tree houses. You know? There isn't a single window in a Costco. There's skylights only. There are no wall windows. All of the doors are made of metal or they're garage doors. And so it's like, it really is it's a place that you don't need to light, at least during the day, because it lights up naturally.
You can put out, if you're high up on one of basically like a 4th floor shelf, you could put a plank across to go to another one. If they somehow climb up, you're just like, no, go to the next one, bring my plank with me.
Remove the shelf, remove the plank, exactly.
Just keep it going.
I've thought about that a lot. I've thought about, because when I used to go to Costco all the time when I was
these are the common sense solutions. This is what we're saying. There's tons of these out there.
Just Costco, just go there. Now, in reality...
Just Google common sense zombie solutions.
In reality, everyone in Livermore, people flock to Costco on a day when there is no apocalypse. People are there. It's just fat town central, and that's what Livermore was. Costco is the central hub.
In many ways, just going there is good practice.
It's just good practice. I know. Luckily, though, in Livermore, I don't think many of the zombies can run very fast. I don't think...
That's hilarious. Ideally, you want to go to an obese...
Right, an obese town. The downside is that they are much hungrier. So, gotta watch out. But no, anyways, I think that we'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
And if the zombie apocalypse does happen, hey, send us a DM. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you're surviving, and let us know how it's working, and how you had to take out your loved ones. Anyways,
send pics.
Send pics, or it didn't happen. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. Jonathan, thank you for going down this hypothetical zombie hole with me. And guys, stay safe and don't eat each other. Out.